Behind us. Wait, down here. Behind me. There were just footsteps behind me as you were walking up the steps.
You know, we heard it. It sounded like it was just right above us.
There's something in here.
Can you contact us?
Can you move something?
There's been, at the Colonial House, 63 different sightings, all separate from each other, of the exact same short woman, you know, under 5 feet tall, with the puffy sleeves, tapered dress, colonial style clothing, and a teacup on her head, which I didn't even know what a teacup was at first until people started over and over again mentioning this, you know, one after the other.
I looked in the top window and I saw a lady standing like this, and she's just glaring down at us.
The fact that there are all of these 4, 5, 6 different descriptive phrases associated with this woman all come out of these different people, I think that's very, very significant.
Okay, 2:14 a.m., July 31st, 2004, the Colonial House in Cape May. We're going to do a 5 or 10 minute EVP session. We'd like the old woman who's been seen in this house. If you'd like to make contact with us, we'd love to hear from you. We're researchers.
I'm hoping to capture this woman that's been seen here on tape. I'm hoping on tape recording, her voice or a message from her on tape. What the hell was that? There's things going on. There's noises on there. For me, the key is recording evidence. You have more control over what you're doing during a recording.
To me, and I think Al probably say the same thing, it's just the standard tape recorder. Most important piece of equipment, especially if you're going after electronic voice phenomena.
They told me that this is the first time that they've had anybody stay in the house overnight. Yeah, so you can bet by about 3 or 4 o'clock we're going to be dragging our asses. I can tell you that.
We're setting up some equipment to analyze EVP, electronic voice phenomena, and also some video monitoring equipment. We're going to have some cameras. We'll have probably one outside, some upstairs. The color, a couple of them are night vision.
What we'll do is I'll identify the 3 of us here, and all we'll do is if there's any question that you can think of that you want to just throw out to whoever here, throw the question out and we'll see if we have an answer on it when we listen to it.
I've been interested in hauntings since I was able to read, since I was 5 or 6 years old, and I always wanted to either be a parapsychologist or archaeologist when I got older.
Okay, again, directed to the little lady who looks out of the windows and watches the tourists. I'd like to know why you're so upset with the tour. These people are here, they're admiring your beautiful structure, your beautiful house. Why are you so upset with the tour? I started when I was in high school, actually. I was 15 years old, and I happened to be walking through a library. I was actually waiting for a ride home, waiting for my dad to pick me up, and I'm in the library and I noticed a book that was on display about ghosts. So I picked the book and I started paging through it and said, wow, this is pretty fascinating, you know. I mean, everyone is, and especially, you know, 50s and 60s, this field wasn't what it is today. And the first thing I'd like to ask is, I'd like to direct this question to the little lady who's been seen so many times from the tourists that look in the windows at in the evening tour, the evening Haunted Cape May tour. And you seem like you're pretty upset with the tour. I need some information about you. I want to know who you are. I want to know why you're here. I want to know why you're upset. So let's start with a question. Can you please give me a name? Who are you? I don't know what that noise was. Something being dragged outside.
I was really shocked at even though they were Class Cs, the volume of Class C voices we got, the dragging at the Colonial House over our heads in a room, in a house that there's only one way in and out of, and we were set up there.
Is this particular house your house, or is it a house that you had lived in? Again, noise, strange noise coming from outside. Not sure what it is.
Outside or upstairs?
Or upstairs.
So whatever was dragging something around up there, that was shocking. And that was right off the bat.
The woman that we mentioned has been seen looking out this window and looking out this window, and also downstairs. So I'm thinking about I'll put some sensors in here, and then we'll just be able to monitor it from downstairs.
For field investigations, we like to use pretty much this setup. We've got a quad screen security monitor that we're minus a camera tonight, unfortunately, but we've got 3 cameras with sound. Up here we've got another night vision camera with sound. This monitor records to this VHS, so we're gonna, once the investigation starts, we're gonna roll the tapes and record through the whole investigation.
For myself, I don't put a lot of stock or credence in photographic evidence. I think some of the things that have been coming out over the last 6 or 7 years, some of these ghost hunting groups and things that get these wonderful orbs all over the place, I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, to be honest with you.
The face in the window was definitely very interesting, and I've watched it probably 20 or 30 times. I can't say one way or the other that it's paranormal or not, but I just definitely say it's very interesting. It looks like it almost has 3 dimensions. I know it was shot with night vision, so I doubt it's a reflection. And you can actually see it move in the mouth, and there's stuff going on up in that room. So, you know, that's the problem with photographic evidence. And again, I'm not a photographer, I'm not a videographer, and it's just, it's very, very interesting. I've never seen anything like it before.
Just as I opened up that door to go downstairs, from that hallway over there, I could hear something, like, it had to have been like, it sounded like another adult person running at me down the hallway from the far end of it.
And I just looked real quickly, and I saw a woman standing there in a suede hat with a suede long skirt on and an outfit.
And I was like, I don't ever want to go back up there again.
That was a ghost, but I still, to this day, can't believe it. It's just freaky.
Can you contact us?
Can you move something?
Well, Cabanas we've been in and out of for several years, and that third and fourth floor area, which is really in the same condition it was in the 1800s, is in disrepair. We've gotten, Al actually recorded a female voice up there probably about 3 or 4 years ago. So it's been untouched for years. It's dilapidated. We had an equipment malfunction with the thermometers.
I had sensors in here, and 2 of them died on me. One of them was working, 2 now. It looks like they're all dead. And I don't know, I'll have to take a look at them, see if it's a battery problem.
We all felt very uneasy in that one room, and I'm not psychic, but when I walked into that room, I've never felt like that before on any investigation. It was just oppressive.
There are some places where you just walk in and you just feel that there's something there. You know, whether it's a positive or negative feeling, you just feel that there's something there. Al
went up there first to set up some equipment in this particular room where this woman has been recorded before and there's been physical phenomena before. It's an empty room. They're in the process of renovating it. It's basically a storage room. He walked in, and then I think you and I walked in after him. And as soon as I walked in, I felt very uncomfortable. I don't know how to explain it, but I've never felt like that before at an investigation. It was almost a sense of dread, kind of. A very heavy sense, very in the air. But it was just like pressure and dreadful, and it was kind of an awful feeling.
Okay, we're going to address the entity that's in this area. The one who gave me the voice, she's pretty. Okay, we understand that you've been very active lately up in this area, and we need again to confirm that your existence. What is your name?
Right, this is the original segment of cassette tape, and it was us doing an EVP session upstairs. Al says footsteps because someone in the room was walking around, which is what we do to make sure that we don't confuse any audible normal noises with paranormal noises. It's right in here. Here I am. So that's a good example of a slowed Class C voice. Now, 5-10 years ago, we would have been able to do nothing with this voice, but due to modern technology and advances in technology and software especially, we're able to take pretty much a Class C voice and at least bump it up to a B so you can tell what's going on and what's being said.
It was very dark out in October, and I had to come up here to get my CDs to DJ that night. And when I came up here to get them, the first 2 boxes, of course, it was like the usual. I didn't really feel very comfortable up here, but I had never actually seen anything happen or anything like that, so I just dealt with it. But then after I got the 3rd box and I locked up this office and was going back down the doorway right behind these stairs, and just as I opened up that door to go downstairs, from that hallway over there, I could hear something. Like, it had to have been like, it sounded like another adult person running at me down the hallway from the far end of it. At which point, I of course ran through the door and shut it behind me, and I was like, I don't ever want to go back up there again.
This cold sensation that people have sometimes, I believe, is not actually a measurable change in the environment. I think what's happening is, as I said earlier, these things need energy to materialize. They get the energy from electrical energy or from us. You know, they'll draw on our energy. Well, when somebody draws energy from you, what happens? You feel cold. These sensors, I don't know, they're still all working right here, but for some reason, there's something blocking them from going into, being picked up. I don't know what it is. I've got to play around with these and see what's going on, because this is the first time they ever didn't work. They've always worked.
So that's where we set up the thermometers, and that's where the thermometers malfunctioned, and they usually are fine. We've really never had a problem with them before. And we did record female and what I think are male Class C EVP voices in there, answering direct questions. This particular noise was like a heavy creaking in the room, almost like a beam was being pulled out, and nobody heard it. You would have heard it. Al definitely would have commented on this noise if you heard it. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's interesting. I usually don't get too many noises, but this is an EVP noise, I think.
Please imprint a voice on this tape recorder.
Starts here. That's not a truck outside. That's something in the building, moving, settling, something. I don't know how to explain it, but you would have heard that with your ears, and Al definitely would have commented, or I would have commented on the noise, because that's how we do. That's the protocol.
Voices or noises, communications of an unseen personality. Early on in the field, and even today, there's some people out there that discredit it and say, oh, it's just random radio waves, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Random radio waves don't answer questions. They don't call you by name. They don't make comments on things that only you have, that you privately understand or are dealing with. You're talking about electromagnetic fields. There's also radiomagnetic fields too that somehow affect these things too, and they usually vary all the time. And when we walked in here the first time, You remember how it was, right? It was just like incredibly, you know, I mean, 4 of us came in this room. It's, whoa, what's going on here? You know, we came back an hour later and the room just felt like it does now, perfect. Like there's nothing going on here. You know, it was just completely devoid of any of that energy, that negative, or what, not even negative, just that energy. It was just devoid of it. And
had she been convicted of the crimes, her sentence would have been death by hanging.
yeah, did you see that?
See it? What did I tell you?
Do it again.
You walk in the door and you're like, oh my God, what happened here?
Can you contact
Can you move something?
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. Once she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Please do come in. Someone has killed father. Well, it was in this room on the morning of August 4th, 1892, Lizzie and Mrs. Borden had their last meal together. A visitor to the house that morning was John Morse. He was the uncle of Lizzie and Emma, the brother of Sarah Borden, Mr. Borden's first wife.
I firmly believe that John Morse, her uncle, was more involved than the police were able to determine. Not that he performed the act, but he was involved to some degree.
Lizzie's sister Emma was not here. She was away in Fairhaven and had been there for the last 2 weeks visiting the Brownell family. Lizzie did not join her family for breakfast. She was a late sleeper and she did anything to avoid Mrs. Borden. The only other person in the house at that time was Bridget, their maid.
Now, there was a strange buggy seen coming up the street that morning, made a U-turn in front of this house. It was seen by the livery stable man across the street. And when he saw it, it was bearing 2 men. Now, his attention was diverted when he looked back. The buggy was leaving carrying only 1 man. So, for lack of a better word, I believe that second man was the murderer.
John Morse left just past 8:30 that morning. Mr. Borden left not long after John.
Well, I believe that John Morse came back in the house, too. I believe he did not immediately go to the post office the way he told the police. He went around the corner and waited for Andrew to leave. So he came back into the house with that man.
Mrs. Borden told Bridget to wash the windows on the first floor inside and out, so Bridget went outside, and Lizzie came downstairs. Said she found her mother in the dining room dusting. She went downstairs to get some laundry, and when she came up, she did not see her again until after her body had been found.
Now, Abby turns around, she sees John. Well, she doesn't have to be excited, she knows him. There's someone with him. Again, she doesn't have to be excited. He's gonna be all right, he's with John. Now Lizzie and Uncle John step aside and the murderer takes over.
This is where the body of Abby Borden was discovered. She took about 19 blows to the head. The first one to the forehead. She saw it coming.
In the meantime, the murderer remains on the 2nd floor. Lizzie is the lookout. Now, when her father comes home, she goes out to the yard and ventures to the barn. The murderer comes down, finishes his dastardly deed, and leaves.
She said she met her father here in the sitting room. She asked, was there any mail? He said no. He asked, where is Abby? And Lizzie said, Mrs. Borden received a note that morning from a sick friend and is gone to visit in the city. No friend and no note was ever found. She said I helped him remove his shoes and his coat. He's still wearing his shoes. His coat is rolled up underneath his head.
Who actually committed the crimes? It's all speculation. Everyone has been accused, from Lizzie to Emma to Dr. Bowen to an unknown assailant. No one will ever know.
We didn't go in there to solve a case. We went in there to collect phenomena. That's our job. Our job's not to solve a case. Our job is to go in and collect phenomena. We always talk about these building blocks for a case. You know, we've had so many reports about this house being haunted in the past and experiences people are having in certain rooms. We went in and we were able to, I think, in a way, validate that the phenomena is happening.
Lizzie Borden is one of the obvious areas in New England that has spectral activity. It's sort of a natural. You got to do Lizzie if you're in New England. That's my feeling. So Al, what are you doing here?
Can't tell, it's dark. I'm setting these sensors up, these temperature sensors, around this area, which is where they had reported feeling cold spots. So I figure if I put 3 of them here, right in this area, We'll see if any of them register any significant temperature drops. Bring this one downstairs. Get the other set. And then we'll monitor this, or try to monitor this every half hour to see if there's any temperature drop. A significant temperature drop, not just 1 or 2 degrees.
People who sleep in the Morse room, the biggest thing I hear about that is that the room is freezing all the time. 90% of the time that you walk into that room, it seems 5 to 10 degrees colder than any other room in the house. Guests who sleep in that room say they feel like somebody's standing over their bed at certain points during the night.
What we need to do is we need to be as quiet as possible, first of all. I'll start it off. I'll ask a question, and then wait maybe 15, 20 seconds, and then have a space in between the questions, which gives them time to respond. And then have a space in between the questions. Could be said, because I'm just saying the same word, wait 15 or 20 seconds, and then wait, you know? And then have a space in between the questions. It's a weird voice, though, isn't it? It's like, it's not very clear. It sounds human, but it's not very clear. And it sounds EVP-ish, you know, because it's dragged out. It could be a mimic again. Just saying the word that I just said, wait.
There is no privacy up there. For anyone who lived there, Emma and Lizzie had to walk through each other's rooms to get down the front staircase.
But again, rooms coming off of rooms, you know, having to go into certain rooms to get into other rooms, it is kind of strange. Yeah, it is quite strange.
The door between the parents' bedroom and Lizzie's room was locked, so they used the back staircase, but there are such close quarters that you didn't have any privacy.
But one of the things you always have when you're dealing with a structure, a historical structure, when you're dealing with anything that's had a legend attached to it, you really have to go into these things and you have to separate what your personal thoughts are, your personal opinions are, and you have to come in like a fresh slate and just start from scratch and see what comes through and what comes out of the investigation. You can't have these preconceived notions that a lot of investigators have. Between the floors here, you've got probably some wiring going through between the floors, and it seems to be going here through this side of Lizzie's room and that side of the Borden's room. And you go to the other side and there's nothing. You know, the fields are, they're not even on the floor, the fields are about non-existent. So, you know, so there's stuff coming up in all these rooms. It's March the 4th, and it's 10:45 p.m. at the Lizzie Borden house. The first question that I'd like to ask is a basic question. Are there any unseen friends, any spirits in this particular house? I think that Lizzie was certainly more involved than was proven. I think she was much more involved with it, whether she had someone help her, which probably is what happened. Is there anyone here, still here, who is connected to the famous murder that took place in the late 1800s, where 2 people in the household were viciously attacked and murdered? There's a possibility that she found out some things that, you know, people talk about the father writing a will and leaving everything to the stepmother, which means that Lizzie probably wouldn't have gotten anything. So she may have taken the opportunity to do away with her because of that. We're particularly interested in the maid who was here at the time. If she is still here, if you could please leave a message for us on this tape recorder. When you come into the house and you say, there's nothing going on here, you know, prove to me that there is. That's what you have to do. And in all cases, not only this house, but any hauntings, you know, you go in, you say, basically, there's nothing happening here. Somebody was held down on his bed, it's probably sleep paralysis, or had an experience in this room, probably a blood pressure problem, you know, blood pressure dropped or something once you walked into the room. Now, then you go back and you start interviewing people and you find out 8 people had similar experiences coming into this room. And that's probably not a blood pressure problem, then it's probably something associated with the room itself. And you start looking, could it be the floor? Could it be, you know, why? So you take every testimony separately and try to analyze it, but the main thing is you come into the place saying, there's nothing happening here.